Hey, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Robin. I'm the host of this one-man show coming to you every Monday at 6 a.m. UK time. And today, as you can tell from the name of the episode, we're venturing into something a bit different. This is not the first time I talk about video games, to be fair, but it's one of the topics that I rarely talk about on this podcast. I think I've only talked about games once before, and it was probably the pilot episode. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people have been waiting for this, but I personally am very passionate about this specific game that I'm going to talk about today. And I'm talking about, of course, Hollow Knight Silksong, which is the very much long-awaited by the entire gaming community, but also, by myself. And it's a sequel to the game Hollow Knight, which came out back in 2017/18, depending on where you first played it. But let's just say that this is one of the most awaited games in the gaming community, I think, overall, and created an insane amount of discussions online about several different things, and just proved once again to be a great addition to the gaming world once more. And personally, as I said, I've been obsessed with this game. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination like a gamer in that sense. I just usually play games on my Switch, Nintendo Switch, every now and then. I am loyal to my franchises, I guess, and Pokemon, or I do love Animal Crossings, and I Animal Crossing, and I do love any sort of Zelda game in that sense. I'm very much loyal to the Nintendo world, if that makes any sense. But I did play for the longest time when I was a kid PlayStation, because my brother is much more of a gamer than me. But I did play the PlayStation 3 and 4. Actually, I think we even had the PS2. So we've been gaming since we're very, very young. So actually, if I have to be honest, I think we even had the PS1, but I don't remember much about that because I was too young to remember shit. But all this today, that I've always had this sort of inclination for video games, I guess. I'm not committed to gaming every single day, but I do enjoy some games every now and then. And there is a peak gaming experience for me personally. It's one of my favorite games ever. And I'll get into, why that is. And I think also overall, the larger, I think conversation that has been having, that we've had online as well, on Twitter, if you follow me, I've tweeted a couple of things about this. But I think overall, the gaming community is just really, really, really happy with this game. And it's created quite the big impact, I guess, overall. So I first want to talk about what the franchise is about, the two. This is the second game. That's the first sequel after Hollow Knight, and I do want to talk about shortly about how the two games are related and what each game is about roughly, and then I want to get into what I personally enjoy, because I did buy the game, the sequel again. So, and it came out literally 4th of September, very, very recently. So I'm ready to talk about this. So Hollow Knight came out, as I said at the beginning, in 2017 for the first time, and I think in 2017 it was released first for PS4, what was it, Xbox, Steam, so all those platforms, and then eventually a year later it came out for Switch, and it's one of the most impressive stories, I guess, and most memorable stories about indie games that just became sort of mainstream, I would say, and literally made the big companies quake, I think, because this is actually this entire franchise, these two games have been designed, produced, and everything by a very small team based in Adelaide in South Australia, I believe. And the team in question is Team Cherry, which is an independent team made up of only 3 people. Only 3. And these 3 people have managed to create this project at the beginning of Hollow Knight in 2017 that slowly but surely started amassing a lot of fans. And it took him a good, 8 years 8 to 9 years to come out with this game, with a sequel, because of course of the the size of the team, and but also the resources and all this stuff. So it took a long time, but damn, was it worth the wait? Like, I literally cannot tell you the last time I've been so excited about a game. Maybe GTA 6 is like sort of like a comparable experience for other people maybe, but this, to me, my world is my GTA 6. Like, literally, this is like the game I've been really looking forward to. Like, it's not even like I'm obsessed with like Pokemon games, but Pokemon games like come out once a year now. So some of them even come out like less than a year apart. So like, I'm not saying that the hype is dead for Pokemon games. I think the hype for Pokemon games is always going to be there, but I think this is more of a special game that took so long to get in that sense. And there's a lot of memories attached also to the original game. I think this was also my like one of the first 2D games that I've played on the PS4, and also I re-downloaded it when I got my Switch, and I played it throughout the pandemic again. So it's been with me for a long, long ass time. So I am super, super, super excited about this one. But yeah, so Hollow Knight basically is a Metroidvania game, which is basically like a Metroidvania is sort of like a term that is used to describe a game that is like a combination of Castlevania and Metroid as foundational games in that sense. But I basically, overall, what I'm saying is that this game is it's a non-linear experience, right? The story is like, there is a story, there's a major story in the game, but you can, you don't have to follow a linear story in that sense. Like, you can do side quests, and you can like, reach different points of the story by going through different ways, and there's this map that is like, discoverable, and you need to acquire specific pieces to like see the maps for different places, and you have to like sometimes go backwards and like go back to other places that you left behind to like move forward. It's just like an explorative game. Like, you have to like explore the areas, and it's a very, dare I say, like a very difficult game as well. Like, it's a combination of that, like usual exploration games, but also it's 2D, it's Metroidvania, and I think it also meets a bit like Soul games in that sense. If you ever played Dark Souls, or what was it, like any of the Souls games, basically, Elden Ring, for example, it has that sort of like difficulty ingrained within. Like, you have a certain amount of lives, and you can recharge your lives in that sense by defeating enemies, but if you die, you lose a lot of the progress that you've made, and you go back to like a checkpoint, and you have to like go back, and it's very, very difficult. And basically the whole point of the game is to move through the main story by different means and different ways and different strategies, and defeat enemies and all that stuff, and then basically arrive at the ending of the game. There is also the customizable experience that has to be mentioned, I guess, which means basically sometimes some of your choices affect the ending of the game. Like, I think there's in the original game there's 3 different endings. It's not as varied as the Soul games, in the sense that there's not all these many endings. It's just 3, but you do have a lot of choices in your hands, and you can customize your abilities. You can sacrifice some of your abilities at the expense of to get some other type of abilities. It's just like a lot of there's a lot of customizable experiences in this game. Very, very cool. So yeah, I would say like the main story of the first game, I think it's sort of important, I guess, to talk about. Basically, you play in the first game as this Hollow Knight, which is an insectoid warrior that arrives in this land called Dirtmouth, in this town. And the town of the town of Dirtmouth basically is like an abandoned city in this like very large kingdom called Hollow Nest, which used to be a flourishing kingdom that became overrun by the quote-unquote infection, supernatural disease basically that can get into anyone's dreams and all that stuff, and like they control people and they start like acting out and becoming basically mindless monsters, which is very similar to like again Soul games in that sense. That part to me is like very funny. Like this game is like cartoonish in the way it's like designed and it's 2D and everything. It's like very very cute, very very aesthetic in that sense. The design of the game is just so good, so memorable and so unique to the game as well. The design of the characters and the settings and everything else. So imagine like a aesthetic softcore, not soft. Well, some parts can be I guess described as softcore, but cartoonish and aesthetically pleasing Soul game basically. Very very cool. Basically in the story, like the infection gives its subject like heightened strength, of course, and you as the Hollow Knight have to like your whole task is to understand, find out why the infection, who is like really behind the infection, and possibly defeat it, and just make your way through Hollow Nest to reach the final conclusion of the game. Hollow Nest ruled the Pale King basically had previously attempted to lock away this infection in a temple of it's called the Temple of the Black Egg. But despite these like many seals and whatever, the disease still managed to escape, and Hollow Nest fell into ruin. And you basically jump into this part of the story where like the kingdom is already like ruined and everything else. So you have to first basically kill 3 main bosses, which are like 3 main. There's like different tiers of bosses, of course, throughout the game, but the main 3 bosses that you have to kill are 3 bugs called the Dreamers, who are the living seals on a temple door. And your whole point is to like break through a temple door and find out what's behind the infection and defeat it. And in this first game, you also meet this other character called Hornet, which is very important because Hornet is instead the protagonist of the new game that just came out, which is Hollow Knight Silksong. So Hornet also, by the way, sorry, Hornet is basically also she's a princess of Hollow Nest, but she's a fighter too. Like she's actually one of the most impressive fighters in the game. Like she has some very intricate moves, and like she's very acrobatic as a character. It's very very cool to see when the first game. Remember, like she's one of the few characters that really you really wanted to like be playing as in that sense, but you can only in the first game play as the main Hollow Knight, right? So yeah, throughout the game basically it's revealed that the actual protagonist is a vessel. And what is a vessel? Basically, the Pale King used an ancient power called the Void to create vessels, which are creatures that can trap the infection within them, but not be overtaken by it because they cannot dream. Basically, they're void. They're Hollow Knights, right? So the Pale King chose a vessel known as the original Hollow Knight to trap the Radiance, which is this deity that created basically the infection, and so the Pale King trapped the Radiance, into the Hollow Knight and sealed it away, right? So yeah, the seals have been weakened and all that stuff, and the infection is still out again and all that stuff. So you as the other Hollow Knight, as the main protagonist, is another vessel that managed to escape the abyss, and they gradually after you defeat all the Dreamers and the Guardians and all that stuff, you get to the temple and you fight against basically a copy of yourself, and you have 3 different endings there that I'm not going to reveal until you play the game, maybe. Yeah. So there's also, of course, a lot of expansions that were added to the game because the game really went for it. It was very popular. So throughout the years, it's not that we haven't been fed in that sense. We have had some expansions and all that stuff, but we haven't had a sequel in 8 years. So imagine and how the hype has not died down. It's just insane. I think like just speaks quietly to the just speaks volume to the quality of the game. I think overall it's just like a very impressive game that was really really well honed and crafted, and it was just perfect. Now, as I said in the in the main game you meet Hornet, which is basically the protagonist of the new game, and the new game is pretty much like, it's a sequel because like it's set right after the Hornet game. And now I'm not gonna reveal why they changed a character, like the main character, because it's something for you to find out through the different endings, I guess. But just knowing the second game, you play a different character, and it's Hornet. She's the former princess of the Whole Knight's fallen kingdom of wildest, and she's the baddest bitch in the land, I would say personally. With this new game, the logic and the fighting as well is much more complicated, much more intricate. It's upgraded and it's much more interactive. And I think the way you fight against enemies is just so much more, entertaining and gorgeous, I guess, to look at, because like you literally are an acrobat in the game. Like you literally have to like strategize on how to like perfectly attack the enemies without being necessarily defeated, and just the moves that Hornet pulls are just insane. And so again, the logic is still the same. Like for the game, you explore the maps and you have to do certain things basically to reach the end. The end here, the story is a bit different. She is, after the events of Honite, she is kidnapped basically by a basically a gang of bugs, basically like that basically brings her to this new land. We're far away from Honest, but we are in Farloom. This is where the new game is based in, and she must navigate basically this massive map and interconnecting smaller worlds to reach the capital of Farloom and find out who kidnapped her and why was she kidnapped. And that, my friend, is something that I haven't figured out yet because I haven't finished the game. But and I think it's gonna take me quite a long time because the game is so bloody difficult. I'm so stuck with like those little bouncing buds that you have to attack on and like jump from place to place. It's just so difficult. Oh my god, I'm losing my goddamn mind even thinking about it. But again, this game is elevated. Is just still retains the magical elements of the first game. It's just gorgeous to very seamless game to play, and it's just so immersive. The design of the game is just gorgeous. Characters designs are also so cool, and I think what really again sells the game as well a lot is just the score of the game, like the songs and everything else that was that were played into the game are just bellissimo. So yeah, Silksong is very large. It has 200 new enemies, over 40 new bosses, around 100 different benches throughout the game where you can respawn basically. And compared to the other game, which had 140 new enemies, over 30 bosses, and 51 benches, this is a much needed improvement. I mean a bigger. I'm not gonna lie, the first game took me a long time to also finish, but this seems to be it's gonna be a long game to play, but I'm very excited for that. Just kind of wait. So yeah, I would also like to say that this is a game that is not for the weak. I would say if you really get triggered easily and you get angry easily with games, don't play this game. But if you want a very challenging game that's gonna really require a lot of strategizing and a lot of skill and improvement, then this is it. This is what you can knock yourself out with. But I'm pretty sure a lot of the Souls gamers and all that stuff will enjoy this game quite a lot, and all the fans of Whole Night like me will be very much pleased with the game. I'm already so impressed with it. So and I've played it for 3-4 days max, so I'm very happy with it. Now let's talk about stats and what happened with this game. The release, so basically the way the marketing, I guess, first of the game was quite interesting, because basically we haven't heard anything about it for the longest time, and then every now and then we kept on getting some screenshots and some information about the game, that it was still under development and all that stuff. And then out of the blue. I lost hope, to be fair. I thought it was never going to come out. To be fair, I literally was texting my brother and was like, no, I don't think this game is going to come out. And he was like, yeah, I don't think it's going to come out anymore. I think it's just like, it's been very quiet for a long time. I think they maybe don't have the funds to like, or like the time and the energies to do all that. And then, 2 weeks ago, they released an interview with, I can't remember which magazine or like which news it was, but they basically just said, hey, 4th of September, we're releasing it. No, Bloomberg, I think it was Bloomberg, yeah. They had an interview with Bloomberg, yeah, and they made a special announcement and made like a little trailer for YouTube as well. I just said, in 2 weeks' time, you'll be able to play the game. I was like, what? And I think this was actually very smart to have it released sort of quote unquote out of nowhere, because the hype just went through the roof, and the day of release, all the platforms went, into a full, frenzy. Like, you cannot actually, I think Nintendo eShop went down, Steam went down. Like, the amount of people who were trying to get this game was just insane. Just insane. And I think the day of release, they recorded a total of 500,000 players on Steam only. Like, live players on the day. Like, 500,000 people were playing the game at the same time on the first day. Like, that's insane. And only on Steam, like, without accounting for all the different platforms you can play the game on. So that's so impressive. And I think what's even more impressive about this game is that it really is a big FU statement to these bigger gaming companies that surely release, so many games and in a very short amount of time with varying quality, I guess, overall, and with a price point that is just frankly ridiculous. Like, most games now are like around £60 or something. Like, they can vary from like 40 to almost even 80 some games. Well, this one comes at a price range of, I think I paid it on eShop only like £14 or £13. Like, a game that costs this little, and they could have easily, for the quality of the game, for the amount of gameplay hours and everything else and everything, they could have like literally priced it at 40 and I would have still bought it. Like, I think that's what people were also saying. Like, they could have literally priced it however much they wanted and people would have still bought the game. But I think they made a very specific choice to like keep it the same price as the original game, because games don't need to be that much expensive. Like, it's just the way it is. And also, a team of 3 people managed to create the quality of like such a good, well structured game that is just resonating with so many people for a fraction of the money, and just having such a huge feedback is just so nice to see, and such a a big, like, a big breath of fresh air, I think, in the gaming community, because people have been very unhappy with like Ubisoft and all these other companies, like, for selling games that are like frankly so expensive for a quality that is not even like as, like, no, I'm not saying like this, you're playing a 2D game. It's not like you're gonna get the best graphic ever. Like, you're not gonna get a realistic graphic. That's not the point. Like, this is like indie artsy game that still manages to get this much attention and these many players, and has built a very healthy fandom. It's just so impressive. So, I mean, the lesson learned basically is that you just focus more on providing quality and just listening more to your customers, and maybe also make the games a bit more accessible to people, because it's just frankly ridiculous to be putting a price point at that much. Like, if you think about how many people buy games, surely you can make a good revenue by lowering the price point, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'm super proud of the Team Cherry. I think they just are brilliant people, and I honestly am so gagged by the game overall. Like, she's just like, Hornet is just my favorite character. Like, it was my favorite character in the first game, and I'm like so excited to be able to play her specifically, but just an extension of the original game, and like knowing that there's so much to focus on and to like play with and all that stuff. I'm like really excited, and they've said in the interviews that they couldn't stop, expanding the game because it was just like so prolific as a process to like make this game, but they had to like stop at a certain point, which tells me also that maybe we'll get expansions eventually as well, like we did with the first game. But this was so worth the wait and so good, and I cannot recommend it enough. I think for anyone, to be fair, if you like enjoy gaming and you want a little bit of a challenge, I think this is it for you. This is so good, and it's been trending on Twitter and other platforms. It's just really entertaining to see, and very happy with it. So yeah, go game, guys. Go game. Go like, go back to being nerds and play this game, please. Now, before we get into the songs of the week, I have a little announcement. Quick interruption for a public service announcement, because I need to tell you something very important. This is so dramatic, but for no reason. But I've been loving lately this very specific product, and this is my first, collab that I have for my podcast, and it's with Mantra Matcha. If you're like me and want steady energy without the crash, this is for you, specifically you matcha girlies, or also for the performative man that are roaming the earth right in this moment. But anyways, for the girlies most of all, Mantra Matcha makes super premium ceremonial matcha sourced straight from Uji, Japan, and we're talking about shade grown, stone ground, super vibrant, and packed with antioxidants, 137 times more than regular green tea, by the way. Here's the cool part though. They've taken the matcha to the next level, because they have also integrated 6 new delicious flavors that you can basically choose online. One of their ones is the strawberry lemon, which is very, slightly more on the tart side, but still very sweet and very summery. But if you want to get a bit more into the, the autumnal vibes, I really recommend the cinnamon goji berry. That's, wild in a very good way, of course. These blends are crafted with ingredients that are all natural, like turmeric, ginger, goji berries, of course, to give your body a natural boost. No jitters, guys. No jitters. Just clean and focused energy. Plus, every box you buy, which is, I think, one of the best perks about this, entire matcha set, every box you get fully helps and feeds a child in need through a charity called No Kid Hungry. So you're doing something really good for yourself, but also, most importantly, also for someone else too. So just check them out. Check them out at mantramatcha.com. That's mantramatcha.com, and elevate your daily ritual. And you can use my code oversharepamphlet, all one word, for 15% off. Again, it's oversharepamphlet for 15% off. Bye. And we're back. That was so much fun, actually. That was so much fun. I am back with the songs of the week that you can find, by the way, as usual, on Spotify. You just need to search the Overshare Pamphlet songs of the week and just put in the month and the year that we're in. And these will, of course, be in the September 2025 playlist. And all the songs of the week that I've previously talked about are all there for you to stream and to discover, But for this week, I have 3 very cute tracks that I really feel very passionate about, actually. One of them specifically, which is really growing on me, and I cannot stop listening to it. I've been like, super obsessed with it. But first off, Deep Green by Christian Curia. I love his stuff, to be fair, actually. Like, I do like him quite a lot. He's a very famous, very famous. Like, he's, moderately famous R&B artist, and the song is just, it's been getting a lot of traction, I think, on social media and everything else, but it's so sultry and, so calm and so good. Like, I just cannot. Like, the song is, so moody. It's a type of song, like R&B song that I would listen to specifically at night, chill and, to just enjoy the Nighttime. It's like a low tempo, quite evocative type of like track. Very, very cool. Couldn't tell you what exactly he's on about. Like, I think it's just, you know, like being in love with someone who changes every day and just, a bit difficult to read. But yeah, deep green running across your face, your surface like oceans of emotions. Deep green, I can read it all in the motion. Just, I don't know what he's on about, but it sounds incredible. His voice is just perfect for R&B. It's just so captivating. So check it out. 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 Then I have Lucy by Kali. Don't know much about the artist. Recently discovered her. And this song specifically is one of my favorites. She is so good. This song reminds me a lot of, I don't know if you guys know TV Girl. Like, TV Girl, it makes, Lovers Rock, Cigarettes Out of the Window, Not Allowed, all those songs, Um, but yeah, it reminds me of that type of music, like sort of indie but playful and like very like cinematic esque, like soundtrack vibe type of situation. But yeah, I mean, the song is very much in that camp. Very, very good, very vibey and very playful, and just a very I feel like this would be a great track for you to put like in your either in your background while you want to do other stuff in the meantime, just like have a little background situation. But also, if you're taking a walk in a park or anywhere, just like in general, if you're walking around on a Sunday, it's just like the perfect song, 100%. And now let's get on to the main diva of the episode, which is 15 Minutes by Sabrina Carpenter. I'm sorry, like I'm in my Sabrina Carpenter phase because I never whatever, I went to the concert, of course, and all that stuff. I've never thought I would actually, be so super duper obsessed with one of her songs. I did think Please, Please, Please was one of the best songs released last year, to be fair. So, and I was obsessed with that song for quite a few, months. But this is different because this to me is actually, I'm going to say it, and this is going to be quite controversial maybe, but this to me is in the bops, in like the, pop bangers, I guess. This is my favorite Sabrina Carpenter song ever. And I don't know why I didn't listen to it when the extended, the deluxe version of Short and Sweet came out, but this is the best song ever made. I'm not kidding. Like, this is like, from every possible angle, it's just such a good, infectious song. So catchy. And what's even, okay, so the way it starts sounds like a bit of a Beatles instrumental, but then it quickly turns into like it reminds me a bit of Feather, like by Sabrina Carpenter, still that type of like pop song, but to me it's like much more elevated. The violins, they're incredible. The lyrics, just so captivating. Like, she's talking, the 15 minutes in question are her supposed 15 minutes of fame. Like, everyone, when Short and Sweet came out, this was definitely written like after that, I assume. And she included in the deluxe version of Short and Sweet when it came out like a year ago or something. But basically, everyone was saying that she, that was it for her. Like, that was her 15 minutes of fame, and she had like head on addresses this. Like, she talks about this immediately, saying like guess the clock is ticking, like the clock is ticking, guess I'm doing something right, like now that people are saying that my time is over, like my time is up, it means that I finally captured their attention, and she just goes for a juggler. She's like, I can do so much in those 15 minutes, even if I have those 15 minutes that you think of, I could do so much in those 50 minutes compared to you all, and she reflects a lot of like also fame, but it's like in a very playful and sassy way that I just so much enjoy. Like, it's just so cool, and her vocal performance here also is incredible. The pre-choruses are just so playful, and she changes the melody a bit slightly. Like, she does different runs in the two different pre-choruses. Then the chorus is just super super catchy. I just really love, like she says lyrics like, when you're hot, they're gonna eat you alive. Or I really like the second verse, like the, when did all these parties like come from, and when did all these bitches get so nice, running out of the woodwork, hoping there's no brain between my eyes. You know, it's just like, come on, like this is giving me blank space type of meta commentary. Like it's just really poignant, and on top of that, it's just a very catchy song. So check it out. And that's the last song that I want to recommend this week. 3 songs, but they are so worth it. So please go listen to them and have a lot of fun with them. And I'll catch you in the next episode. So goodbye. Enjoy the week. Please don't die. Please.